What's going on, everybody? Welcome into 104.3 The Fans Postgame Live. It was a tale of two halves. DMac as the Broncos fall to the Raiders, giving them their first win of the season, 32-23. A lot to dive into. Let's start with the defense, I guess, because while the defense has brought this team a lot of wins for the past couple of weeks, they really struggled tonight. And in my personal opinion, they're the reason that this team was just not able to make it work. What are your feelings, DMac?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this was brutal, and the defense got exposed. It was about stopping the run, and they couldn't do it, and Josh Jacobs killed them. You know, the battle between Patrick Surtain and Devontae Adams was awesome. You know, it was really, really cool. I'd say it's – I mean, I guess you could even say that Surtain and the Broncos won that based on how many passing yards that Derek Carr had, and you scored 32 points with no passing touchdowns. It's just you couldn't stop the run. Yeah, and you didn't force any turnovers either, Rachel. You didn't get a fumble, you didn't get an interception. I mean, you couldn't force enough pressure on Carr. And that's what I thought they were going to be able to do. I thought in this battle that's what they would be able to make happen and get that turnover. But we all know the turnover that everybody's going to be talking about and everybody's going to be upset about, and that's the Melvin Gordon fumble that led to a touchdown. So, all right, all you Melvin Gordon haters, you win. There's literally nothing I can say. Myself and James have been defending Melvin, but there's just, you can't do it. 4 games in a row with fumbles. I mean, he was virtually benched. They only played him because Javonte Williams got hurt. And there's a Randy Gregory injury too. So this is a absolutely brutal game for the Broncos, Rachel.
Yeah, we'll get into injuries in just a little bit, but I guess we'll start with Javonte, I should say. That is being a huge injury. He left with his knee. He was downgraded to out almost immediately after he was carted off and taken back into the locker room. So that's a very scary injury for this Broncos offense, especially. We'll keep you updated at DenverFan.com and here for the next 30 minutes, too, as we break down everything. We love seeing your guys' comments. Keep them coming. We know you're frustrated, but we love to see it. So let's talk about the Melvin Gordon fumble that sealed his fate for how Broncos country will most likely always look at Melvin Gordon. And I was also on the bandwagon with you and James saying, you know what, I actually liked Melvin Gordon, but I really do think that fumble right there, being his first carry of the day, coming in after Javonte was doing really well, sealed his fate here in Denver, where it's just never going to work out.
Well, I'll hope for the best for Javonte Williams. Obviously, it doesn't look great, but no, what are you going to do? Cut him? You're going to cut Melvin Gordon now? Hey, listen, had Javonte Williams been healthy at the end of this game, I don't know, maybe you do cut him. But not now. There's no way you can. Zero way you can. Now, whether or not you trust Mike Boone with the ball more than Melvin Gordon, or whether or not you bring in another running back, but that's insane to think you cut Melvin Gordon at this point. And yeah, I'm frustrated and disappointed. It's an absolutely inexcusable fumble. Absolutely inexcusable. I have no excuse for it. Should never have happened. Horrible. And likely did cost you the game. I hate to say that. But, a lot of games come down to turning points. And the reason it might have cost you the game, Rachel, is because the defense just didn't have it today. At least stopping the run, they didn't have it. They're okay against the pass. They were. Carr threw for less than 200 yards throwing the ball. Devontae Adams did have a big game. Let's call that what it was. They were focused on throwing the ball to Javonte Adams, and it worked. But overall, that didn't kill you.
Let's throw back up those quotes real quick, because it shows nobody has more fumbles as a ball carrier or receiver over the last 4 years than Melvin Gordon. This is the third time a Melvin Gordon fumble has been returned for a touchdown in the last 12 games. It is his 5th fumble in the last 5 games dating back to last year. Doesn't matter what he can do in pass pro. You cannot play a guy who's fumbling at such an extreme rate, coming from our very own Andrew Mason.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, if Javonte didn't get hurt, DMac, it really would be a conversation of, do you just give him his $2 million and you let him walk out the door and see what else, or see what Mike Boone can do? But you absolutely cannot now that Javonte is hurt.
Yeah, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
It's bad. I don't blame the coaches for not trusting him. I don't blame Broncos country for being upset with him. And you know what? I thought I had some forms of reasonable defense for Melvin Gordon. Forget it. I'm not even going to bother. You just can't do it. You cannot do it. And yeah, okay. Listen, it's, 4th down. You're trying to stretch the ball over. You get bailed out because a fumble goes back to you. I mean, not all fumbles are equal. Yeah. But there's not, aside from, the worst thing you can do when you fumble is give points immediately to the other team. It's the absolute worst thing that you can do. And that's exactly what happens. So, and you knew this was going to be a close game. It ends up being a 9-point game. But, this was a touch-and-go one-score game for the vast majority of it. It was just kind of a bummer when the Broncos really needed to just, dial in and stop the Raiders. And, great play by KJ Hamler. And Russell Wilson was, man, he had by far his best game of the year, no doubt about it. Not like crazy great, but really, really solid. Mm-hmm. Threw for 237, 17 to 25, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He did get sacked 3 times, but overall, Russell Wilson was really good, and he was more than willing to run when he needed to run, including at the goal line where you take a lick, and including picking up a first down when you really needed it. I thought Russell Wilson was pretty terrific today.
I think personally over this entire season, I think Russell Wilson has always been kind of the part we thought he was going to be. Maybe I expected a little bit more, had a little bit higher potential, but it's been his teammates that have been around him, dropped passes. We've seen it time again. We're seeing penalties. Again, that's what's killing this team. And I think, honestly, Russell Wilson has kind of done what he said he was going to come out here and do. Obviously not getting the wins, and that's the major one that everybody looks at. But his numbers have definitely not been bad for a single game that I can think of.
Well, he's had a poor, relatively poor overall start. And I saw Field Yates tweet comparing Russell Wilson to Geno Smith. Okay, fine. Have fun with that. And Geno Smith had a ridiculous game today. Geno Smith did. He had an absurd game. They didn't play any defense either, but their offense was amazing. They piled up, 40-something points there with the Seahawks. So, okay, good for Geno. I think this is the type of game, though. You have this type of game with Russell Wilson, you're going to be all right. The Broncos couldn't run the ball either, by the way, Rachel. Not really.
Here's the issue. We talked about this morning. The issue is this offense has zero identity at all. We've been talking about it all morning. They have zero identity. I still don't know what their identity is, even coming after this, because, again, Javonte's doing so well, and then all of a sudden you bring in Melvin Gordon. Why?
Yeah, I'm not. Melvin Gordon only had 3 carries.
Yeah, but again, with Javonte doing as well as he did, what was the purpose of it?
Listen, I get it. The concept is that you're making me defend Melvin Gordon and the coaching staff here, Rachel. You can do whatever you want with it, but the reason they do it is supposedly to keep Javonte fresh and to rotate another guy in. But you know what? Hey, listen, man, I might as well just be like everybody else. Oh, why are you doing it? I don't get it. Play Javonte more. Well, okay, but now Javonte's hurt, man. So now what? Now what are you gonna do? And this wasn't a must-win for the Broncos. It did set up nicely for a good road win. And man, the Raiders have just had their number. It's so dang frustrating. And specifically against the run, Josh Jacobs has just destroyed the Broncos in the past few games he's played against them.
I have to disagree with you that this was a must-win. It was a must-win to win in Seattle, and when they lost that, this game was a must-win because this is the weakest link of the AFC West, and now I think the Broncos might be down there. I think the Broncos might be the weakest link of the AFC West.
Well, they're 2-2, and the Raiders are. I don't know, man. The Raiders aren't that good.
The Raiders look a lot better than the Broncos did today, DMac.
Well, yeah, no doubt about it. When you can just hand the ball off, the Raiders ran for 212 total yards.
Yeah.
They just stopped me here. Let me look up some of these other numbers here. I'm going to just guess that they dominated basically in everything. Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh darn it, Rachel, on my stupid computer. Anyways, I know the Broncos got their clock cleaned and this one. Everybody does. They made a good, furious little comeback there. And then that went down the drain because you couldn't get a defensive stop when you really needed it. No, I mean, it was brutal. Brutal game. Never really felt like it had a great first half. Was kind of okay, but you just couldn't stop the Raiders when you needed to. And at least you scored more than 16 points, I guess. So the story of this game, no doubt, will be what you said, lack of identity. Who is this team? And you got to look at the penalties too. I believe the Broncos going into it were the most penalized team in the NFL, and I believe that will continue. Oh yeah, so there's, I mean, more penalties, more turnovers, less rushing yards, more passing yards. So there you go, right? And time of possession, you got absolutely waxed. I mean, you gave up, look at that, almost 10 minutes of possession time. I mean, you gave up almost a full quarter of possession time to the Raiders.
Yep.
That's not good, obviously.
No, it is. It is brutal. The penalties, I think everybody, DMac, I could probably ask you, what's the most known phrase here in Denver for the Broncos? What's the most known phrase?
The best, let's ride.
Okay, besides that one. Besides a Russell Wilson phrase.
I got it. Let's ride.
Besides a Russell Wilson phrase, I guarantee the people in the comments can guess it. If I say,
hey, you're quizzing me, Rachel. I'm flunking the test. I thought I had it with let's ride.
Holding, number 72. Boom, Giovanni in the comments on top of it. Garrett Bowles' career holding log. In 2017, 10 and 16 games. 2018, 11. 2019, 13. 2020, he had 4 and 15 games, which was by far his best year. 2021, 6 and 14 games. And so far, he's had 3 in less than 4 games, and that tweet went out before the game was over. So, Garrett Bowles, what are we doing, man? I what happened to people aren't going to touch your quarterback because that's like your wife, right?
Yeah, speaking of Garrett Bowles' wife, did you see her funny comment on Twitter?
I did.
I don't know anything about Garrett Bowles' wife. She's a riot. I mean, she's just flat out funny. So props to Garrett Bowles' wife because on the fumble return touchdown, I mean, I don't know what he was doing. He made some sort of little dive. He was
both him and Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb on the last big run for the Raiders. He had like a little dive out too. That was it wasn't pretty. It's not one to add to the highlight reel.
I mean, it was funny that Bradley Chubb's wife even had to laugh at that. Listen, I just think that's funny. He can't, he was trying. She's obviously not ripping on her own husband. But it was a relatively funny light moment. We'll see if he thinks it's funny, I guess. But I mean, I don't know how you look at it and you don't laugh because it looked kind of ridiculous. But yeah, the holding's back. And why? I don't know. I'm sure that's something that we'll dig into. I'm sure we will.
How did you feel about the game management today?
I was fine with it. I mean, I didn't think there were any, super big issues. I don't think there were really any kind of. I mean, I liked the timeout near the end. I understood that, and you went for it on 4th down and you picked it up, which was cool. I don't know. I can't even think of anything else that stands out in terms of significant game management sort of issues. I mean, Waitman was good again punting. Another good performance from our punter. So, I mean, that's all. And you know what? Listen, Patrick Surtain is a really great player. You had an awesome battle out there today, and it'll be interesting for folks to break it down. Like, how often was he like on one-on-one coverage with Devontae Adams? Well, how did that breakdown actually settle itself out? It felt like Surtain had a little bit of an edge there, but you can't keep him on. I don't know. That was probably a good battle just between the two of them. It's probably relatively even. They're both great players. They both had great moments. That's not even the bigger story because against the pass, the Broncos were actually kind of okay. They were all right there. It's really they could not stop the run, Rachel. All right, just to be clear. This game was about everything up front and their lack of ability to stop the run. The end. The as it turns out, the battle between Surtain and Adams at best was a push, maybe an advantage Surtain slightly, but I mean See, that's the problem, Rachel, right? You've got a great player in Patrick Surtain, okay? Your defense gave up 32 points.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the greatest corner in the world can only do so much if, everything else isn't working. And today was interesting, too, because Russell Wilson actually played pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Really, really good. But you couldn't run the ball. So you couldn't stop the run, and you couldn't run the ball. You lost the battle up front, both on defense and offense. So you basically got smacked in the mouth today. You got bullied around. And to add insult to injury, it looks like a knee injury to Javonte Williams, and it looks like a knee injury to Randy Gregory, which sucks.
Yeah. No update
sucks.
from Nathaniel Hackett on Broncos running back Javonte Williams, a knee or pass rusher Randy Gregory. Hackett said they will get MRIs and they'll gather all the information possible on both of them. I will say that Javonte's, the fact that he was not able to put any pressure on and he had a towel over his face leads me to believe that that's a very serious one. With Gregory, he's able to walk off under his own power, so you're just keeping positive thoughts because Bradley Chubb was pretty much invisible today, so you really do need Randy Gregory to get back out there.
Gregory's been absolutely incredible this year. I mean, he has been unreal. To lose Randy Gregory would, I don't know, that would, oh man, that would be terrible. I'm looking at Bradley Chubb, 3 combined tackles, not even solos. Got credit for 1 pass being defended, no sacks, nothing going on. Actually, Randy Gregory didn't have a lot going on today either. So they did a good job against him. So I don't know. You got to tip your cap to them, right, Rachel? I mean, they've got a messed up offensive line. They didn't have a lot of good things going on. And they played darn well today. They did their job today on the offensive line. Good job for them, I guess.
DMac, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you believe that this Broncos team can make it to the playoffs?
No, I do not. I wish I had better news to share, but I haven't for a long time though, Rachel, because I said when Tim Patrick got hurt that I think that would cost them a game. And it probably has. And at some point along, and I had them 10-7 in the first place. So it cost them a game. You're 9-8, or maybe you're 8-9. I don't know. Will the Justin Simmons injury cost them the game? And now you've recently got to say Javonte Williams, Randy Gregory, and let's knock on wood that they're okay and the MRIs come out all right. But you can't lose such important players and think that it's not going to have some sort of impact, especially with the team that's still trying to figure out who they are. So the tricky one, though, Rachel, is where you tell me, like, where are those wins on the road? Where are they? Who are they coming against?
This was supposed to be the easy part of the schedule. I'm terrified for this team to go up against a Baltimore Ravens team, a Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs team.
Yeah.
Even the Titans, I know they've kind of been up and down too, but oh my goodness. I mean, again, though, this offense has no identity. If the people start to figure out the Broncos defense, then this team has nothing going for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not pulling the ripcord on the season. Don't get me wrong. You're asking me a tricky question after 4 games. Are they going to go to the playoffs?
But all that matters at the end of the day is making the playoffs to try and.
All right. Well, listen. Let me offer the shiny side of the street here. Peyton Manning, when he first joined the Broncos, they were 2-3 after 5 games. 2-3. Okay. We thought today, Mike and I, when we were doing the pregame show, that it's not a light switch. It's like a dimmer switch. And we thought the dimmer would raise up in terms of the Broncos offense.
Okay.
I mean, it kind of did, sort of. I mean, Russell Wilson was his best game for sure. There was an incredibly dynamic play, obviously, with KJ Hamler. I mean, the frustrating part, Rachel, is they just got, nothing going. I mean, take away the 4 carries from Russell Wilson, 16 carries, but they only had 25 passing attempts, Rachel. They only had 41 offensive plays. I mean, that is wild, right? You only had 41 offensive plays in the entire game? That's
and
brutal.
Here's the thing, DMac. They were playing a team that was 0-3. The only team that has not won a game.
So they had, let me see here. They had I'm sorry, 45, because there were 4 carries by Russell Wilson. My bad. So they had 45 offensive plays. 45. The Raiders had 72. 45 offensive plays for the Broncos, 72 for the Raiders. The Raiders held the ball for almost 10 minutes more than the Denver Broncos. You got your butt kicked, Rachel. You got your butt kicked. Period.
Oh, to the Broncos' former coach and Josh McDaniels. He gets the win. Oh. It's just, there's so much to talk about. I'm interested. James Merlat's going to join us here in just a little bit to talk about what Nathaniel Hackett said at his press conference. But Orlando Franklin tweeting out, there's absolutely no accountability on this football team. Bronco country, you guys deserve better. 100-yard rusher, 100-yard catcher rivalry. That's laughable. Who really looked like the only 0-3 team in the NFL out there today? I'm with this was a tough loss. Last week, DMac, you and I were both very high because this Broncos team, they beat the 49ers. They beat a very, very good defense as we bring in James Merlat. This loss, though, I think says more than what beating the 49ers had to say, James.
Yeah, this was depressing because it just looked like the same old Broncos, guys. I mean, it's just and Andrew Mason said it to us during the game, Rachel. This looked like year 4 of the Vic Fangio era. Right. And at the end of the game, it was the same old, right? They get the long play to KJ, and then Russell Wilson runs it in, cuts it to 25-23. There's 7 minutes left. Just get the ball back. And they couldn't get off the field. They give up a couple of big third downs, and it's a 9-point game, and it's over at that point. You needed a stop. You needed to at least hold them to a field goal. Give yourself a chance. You've got Russell Wilson. He played pretty well throughout the game. And they couldn't get it done. It was the same old. It was a mess in so many ways. Couldn't stop the run, couldn't get teams off the field, got dominated time of possession, couldn't force a turnover. I mean, tell me if you've heard any of these things the last 3 years. It was Groundhog Day in Denver as we flipped the calendar to October.
Okay, we do have some breaking news. Broncos running back Javonte Williams just left the locker room on crutches. Our very own Andrew Mason sending that out. That is a bad sign for a Broncos team that has heavily relied on the run game and Javonte Williams. He's one of the worst ones that you could lose. So you hope that the MRI does come back semi-good and maybe he won't be out for the entire season. But I would love to hear, what did Nathaniel Hackett have to say, James?
Yeah, I mean, he had a couple of repeated takes. One was really loved how the guys battled. We heard that over and over and over again. Loved how they battled and they stayed together and this, that, and the other. It's like, okay, great. I mean, they're professional football players, and if you're the least bit competitive, you should battle until the end. So I give him no points for that, but he mentioned it multiple times. He was asked about his trust level of Melvin Gordon, and he was pretty harsh. It was, he didn't endorse him at all. Didn't say he still trusts him. Didn't say he just can't put the ball on the ground. I know he's not trying to do it, but you can't put the ball on the ground. So that spoke volumes. Now, the Broncos may not have a choice, right? If Javonte Williams is out for any amount of time, Melvin Gordon has to step up. I mean, everybody can say, oh, Mike Boone, he's the guy. I mean, Mike Boone had 3 carries last year, came in today, and he was awful at the end of the game, guys. Awful. He was awful early in the game when he missed the blitz pickup, right? So he had a blitz pickup that he didn't get in the first half that turned into a sack of Russell Wilson. He dropped a ball in the middle of the field that would have been a big play down 9 late that they still had a little bit of hope on 4th down. I mean, listen, Melvin Gordon, it's inexcusable, and I've defended the guy as much as possible. Today's was a bad fumble, not just because it went for a touchdown the other way. It was just a sloppy fumble. It wasn't 4th down, you're stuffed at the 2, you got to lunge for the end zone in Seattle. This one was different. But spare me the Mike Boone's going to be the answer narrative, because that just ain't going to happen. So they're going to have to rely on Melvin Gordon. And look, Nathaniel Hackett faces his first crisis 4 games in, because you just lost to an 0-3 team, the only 0-3 team in the league. You have a short week. You're banged up. This season can start to get away from them Thursday night if they aren't able to rally the troops here and get a win against a relatively bad Colts team that may be without Jonathan Taylor. So crisis number one for Nathaniel Hackett. So here we go.
What was Nathaniel Hackett's mood, though? Because, yeah, you can say all that stuff, but sometimes you have to read between the lines with head coaches and players. Did he seem upset? Was he furious the way Broncos country clearly is?
I wouldn't say he was furious. He wasn't jovial. He wasn't cracking a smile. He wasn't making any jokes. So I don't want to imply that. He just was not furious. We've all seen head coaches, when they, whether it's Jim Mora's playoffs rant or whatever, like he was nowhere near that. If that's a 10, he was probably a 5. But, did he really seem ticked? No, he just was trying to be positive. And, he kind of had that long season, we got another one coming up on Thursday, kind of a feel to it. Look, he downplayed the rivalry all week. Being 2-2 is disappointing. Losing to the Raiders when they're 0-3, he may not think it's a rivalry, but he's going to hear about it for 4 days. He's actually should be happy they play quickly, so he won't have to hear about it all week. But Broncos country isn't going to be happy with what happened today.
Oh, definitely not. All right, James, appreciate you hopping in and chatting with us for a little bit. DMac, we'll go back to – let's actually talk about Boone. Oh, we get another update. Randy Gregory says to Michael over at CBS4 in the locker room, I'm good. Don't worry. That's official. That is great to hear.
Okay, awesome. I'm thrilled to hear that.
Yeah,
no, Randy Gregory is he's critical to this team. Yes. Critical. It is tough, though, no joke, when you've gone through an injury and a recovery and you really don't participate in all that much, which he didn't right up to the beginning of the season. It is not surprising, Rachel, okay? And this is nothing against Randy Gregory specifically. But when you don't go through the right regimen of, a season, a lead up to a season, and then you go full throttle like you have to do, it's not surprising that things pop up. So yeah. I'm happy to hear that, beyond happy to hear that. And that sounds like good news. And let's hope that's just the way it is. So good. I'll take that for what it's worth and hope that he's fine because you need Randy Gregory. He is a absolute critical component to any success that you're going to have.
Yep, and we'll look ahead to Thursday night because, it's a quick turnaround for the Broncos. The Colts ended up losing to the Titans, 24-17. So they're also coming off of a loss. How concerned are you looking ahead to Thursday night?
Well, I love the Thursday night game, and I didn't know, I heard something from James there. So we were doing our pregame show, and I was into watching the game. So it sounds like James inferred that there may be some sort of injury to Jonathan Taylor. So I don't know if you guys know something more than I do, and I know nothing on this. So
high ankle sprain.
Is that right? Official high ankle sprain?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Maybe. Possibility. Jake on the back end is informing us. A possibility of a high ankle sprain. So
that's their team. He is their offense. And by the way, they were getting smoked today, and they kind of, crawled back into the game against Tennessee. But Tennessee actually had a pretty significant lead on them pretty early. So their best player is hurt, and they've got a short week, and they're on the road. Okay, this is absolutely. Oh my God! I mean, you got to win. I mean, the expression "must win" isn't to be taken literal. I've learned that. The must win really indicates games that you should win or games that you would be reasonably favored to win.
Yes.
And if you lose one of those games on the other side, you've got to pick up a game that, that theoretically you weren't supposed to win, and you got to pick that one up. And it's not that you can't do it. Hey, any given Sunday, Rachel, anything can happen. You could theoretically, I guess, go into Baltimore and surprise the Ravens. The Bills were down 20-3 and came back and won that particular game. They are the Bills, though, not the Broncos. So Tennessee or at LA for the Chargers or at Kansas City because you just lost 2 road games, Rachel, that on paper were 2 of the most winnable games of the year.
Yeah.
So Seattle, who did win today and put up a lot of points, and the Raiders. Okay? So where are you getting your road wins? Maybe Carolina, they look like they're pretty beat up and pretty bad. You tell me. I mean, where are the wins going to come from? So you got to handle your home games that are winnable. And Thursday night, short week, you don't have your best player. You got to road grade the Colts.
Okay, I saw this comment pop up, and I'm curious what your response to it is going to be. When Melvin Gordon steps out on the field come Thursday night, will he get booed?
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's not like they individually introduce every single player in front of 70,000 for their judgment, but he'll be cheered to the degree that he is successful. But I mean, if he's not, I cannot even imagine if he fumbles again. And I would not be surprised if they started the game with Mike Boone as their running back. They've got to be beyond frustrated with Melvin Gordon. And if Javonte Williams was healthy, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if they were to cut Melvin Gordon. They are stuck this week. They got a long time after the Thursday game. They've got, he doesn't cost you all that much money, Rachel. If you want to get rid of him, I mean, I guess you can. It's not like it was for the past couple of years. So he'll certainly survive till Thursday. I mean, they're going to need every healthy body they can get. So, and you just don't have time to get somebody up to speed. We'll see what happens after then, and we'll see what the injury is to Javonte Williams, man. It doesn't sound good, but let's hope it's not serious.
Fingers crossed for him. We'll keep everybody updated, DenverFan.com as well. So make sure you check that out. We'll keep you updated, like I said, on Javonte, Randy Gregory too. Because that one's still a little iffy. Even though he's saying he's good, you want to make sure everything looks good behind the scenes.
Yeah, these knee injuries and ACLs, Rachel, are really quirky.
Especially sometimes 4 week. That's what scares me.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes knee injuries are like, hey, it's a slight sprain. You really will be good in 7 to 10 days. Or no, it's something more serious and you need surgery and you're going to be out for a long time. There really doesn't seem to be like a in between. It's not like a ankle sprain, high ankle sprain, something like that. It really seems like it's one thing or another. So again, Randy Gregory is really important. Let's hope for the best. It sounds good if he's making those comments in the locker room afterwards, but he'll have to go through the process and find out for sure. And then it's Baron Browning and Nick Bonito, and I don't know. You kind of right.
This team needs a lot of help. So we'll stay tuned. Short week again. The Broncos take on the Colts Thursday night football in the Mile High City. Make sure you stay tuned to DenverFan.com. The Broncos give the Raiders their first win of the season, 32-23, a heartbreaker for Broncos country. But we'll keep you guys updated. DenverFan.com. Tune in tomorrow morning. DMac and myself, James Marilat as well, will all be on coffee break, 10:30 a.m. Come hang out with us. Walk us through your emotions a little bit after, and we'll see everybody then. Bye, everyone.